Dave, are you there?
I'm here. Good to hear from you, Dave.
Well, you got some exciting things going on in your church with Team One. I'm hearing you're just kind of restructuring your church or taking a look at it. What's going on with Team One?
Team One is basically about two things. First of all, it's about holding leaders accountable to the mission of the church. The second part is about making our churches externally focused again, where 51% of our resources are reaching to our communities, where we're getting outside of the walls of the church, where we're judging ourselves based on how successful we are in our community, rather than judging ourselves based on how well things are going within the walls of our church.
Dave, what led you and the church to come to this point where you're really trying some radical things here with Team One?
That's a great question, Dave. And again, the conference had been in the experiment for several years, and I didn't really feel that it was something that we needed to participate in. But it came to the point where I was finishing my 8th year at New Day. I was feeling like there needed to be some change. I needed change personally. I needed my own personal leadership to be shaken up. I felt the church needed change. If for the sake of change, it needed to change because we had implemented some structures, and the structures had served us well for 8 years, and we had grown. But we reached the point where we weren't going to grow anymore, and we were plateauing under the old systems. And so there just needed to be a change in our church, a change in my heart. I was lacking vision. I wasn't dreaming about the future anymore. And so it just felt like something needed to be shaken up, and this seemed like the perfect thing to do. But even more than that, all through my ministry, I had wanted accountability. And in our church, I had tried to set up systems of accountability with my elder board, with our church board, where I instituted my own annual reviews, where I'd go through that with the church board and the elders, and I'd ask them to rate how I was doing and hold me accountable and tell me if I was messing up. And with very good intentions, every year they would just say, "Hey, you're doing a great job," and they'd give me this report. But nobody was really holding my feet to the fire in terms of, are we fulfilling our mission? Yeah, our programs are running great. Yeah, our church is growing, but are we really reaching our full potential to reach our community? Are we really reaching our full potential to bring people to Christ? Are we really reaching our full potential to demonstrate the love of Christ in our community? And I felt that wasn't happening. And so I felt this change was needed in order to truly bring accountability, to surround myself with a group of strong people who would hold my feet to the fire. And I think leaders really covet accountability, and that's another reason for this change.
We say that, and yet it's kind of hard. I mean, you're making yourself very vulnerable to be accountable like that. What's going on in your life? What changes have you seen since you've placed yourself in that position of being humble?
Well, you surround yourself with a group of people who are going to hold you accountable, but they're people are in your corner, people who believe in you. Okay. And people who trust you. Trust is so very important in an accountability relationship. I trust them, they trust me. And so they have freed me to dream again. We're currently looking at our church structure, and we're revamping some things that before I would have been able to do, but would take me 2 years to work through with the different teams and boards and committees, getting approval with each piece. But now I'm being held accountable by a group of people, making sure I don't break any rules, making sure that I'm going in a direction that's going to help us in the mission of our church, but they're freeing me up to be able to make some decisions about how to lead our church to fulfill this mission. That's really liberating, exciting, and I found a change in my own heart that I am dreaming again, and once again God is breathing vision into my heart.
What is the next milestone in your timeline on this process?
Well, because it is somewhat of a change from normal church structure, we have been asked by our conference to have at least 3 votes before this can become a permanent part of our church, local church constitution, or who we are. And so for New Day, we had our first vote May 31, and we gave it 3 months to see how things are going. And now as we come up to September 6th, we're going to be having our second vote, and we're going to be reporting to our church in town hall meeting exactly what has happened, some of the wins that we have experienced, some of the challenges we're facing and trying to work through. And so September 6th is our really big next milestone. And then again in December, we will be coming back again to report to our church and to decide whether to continue this experiment or not.
So what are you doing to prepare the church for that event on September 6th?
Well, we've been gathering data and stories that we're going to be sharing. Stories like just came to us this morning, working from my home office today, but I got a call from my administrative assistant who was down at our church office about 30 minutes ago. And one of the projects we've been doing, we've been partnering with community partners. We've identified 3 or 4 agencies in our community that are already meeting needs, and we're coming up alongside of them and saying, how can we serve you? We have an Adventist hospital in our community we've been partnering with, and one of the things, the needs we discerned was in the emergency room. Many times children will come into the emergency room, either they're sick or injured or they're just with a parent, and there's a long wait. And so our kids of our church, as well as some of the adults, developed some New Day Kids bags, and about 150 of them took them to the emergency room. And now when the kids are in the emergency room waiting, one of the emergency room technicians or doctors or nurses will give them this bag full of toys and coloring books and crayons and little things like that. And it says on the bag, compliments of New Day Kids. Well, the hospital has loved it. The emergency room staff has loved it. The emergency room staff feel like heroes now because they're coming to the kids' aids and looking like Santa Claus. But today we got a phone call at the office from one of the parents of the children who received one of those bags. She went to the trouble of finding our church's phone number, gave us a call, said, "Thank you so much for blessing our family during our time in the hospital." And she wanted to know where to send a thank you note. And then she told us that she and her family were so moved by our small token of ministry that she and her family had gone out to Toys R Us and bought a slew of toys and taken them to the emergency room as well. So we're really excited about stories like that.
Pay it forward idea, huh?
Exactly, yeah.
So on September 6th then, you're going to have the big presentation. How do you expect the vote's going to go?
Well, this is a difficult change, and frankly, we don't understand everything we're doing, so we don't expect our members to understand everything we're doing. And sometimes when we don't understand exactly what we're doing, there tends to be resistance, and I understand that. Our first vote, we were very fortunate to have 83% of our church to vote in favor. But I think that as we've gone through this process and we've seen it's not a lot of the things we were afraid it would be, and we're seeing how it is actually giving us the ability, empowering us, holding us accountable to be the church Jesus wants us to be. I would hope that vote would be stronger, but I believe that our church will decide to continue in this direction.
Yeah. It's an exciting journey, and I want to thank you for being vulnerable enough to take us along on your journey, and we'll check back with you from time to time and see how it's going.